may, since we're talking about fertility a bit here, your hormones during that 9 to 11 period, they regenerate too, especially for women. It matters because our estrogen, our progesterone, and our hormones are all influenced by our sleep.
Mhm.
And for those of us post-menopause, or those who have irregular cycles or are trying to get pregnant, this is so imperative because sleep is a huge component of
Mhm.
those hormone balance issues that is so much overlooked. So,
Mhm.
I had fertility issues when I was trying to get pregnant, and all of this comes into play when fertility issues are at the forefront for some people. And it
Mhm.
does get overlooked. You don't think of that, but or our hormones are synthesized through our gut, but only if our gut is regenerated during the night.
Hey, friend, welcome back to PCOS Unfiltered Nourish, Heal, Thrive. I'm your host, Lindsie, and today we're talking about something that everyone knows matters, but most of us still treat like it's optional: sleep. Because when sleep is off, everything feels off: cravings, mood, stress, energy, digestion, blood sugar, even your cycle. And for women with PCOS, poor sleep can quietly crank up insulin resistance and cortisol, making it harder to lose weight, regulate hormones, and feel like yourself again. That's why I'm excited about today's guest, Kate Lazzarotti. Kate is a national board certified health and wellness coach, an integrative nutritionist, and the founder of KCL Wellness, where she helps women take charge of their health through strategic lifestyle change. Her work is rooted in a simple but powerful belief: your body wants to be well. It's your job to give her the conditions to thrive. In this episode, we're diving into a traditional Chinese medicine tool called the Harari Body Clock, basically a map of what your organs are doing at different hours of the night, and how it can help you understand why you might be waking at the same time every night, why digestion feels worse when sleep is inconsistent, and how your body's detox and hormone regeneration are tied to your bedtime routine. We also talk about practical real-life strategies, from what to do between 9 and 11 p.m., to simple wind-down rituals, temperature changes in the body, nighttime bathroom trips, and even how shift workers can make this work without feeling helpless. So, if you've ever said, "I'm exhausted, but I can't sleep," or "I wake up at 2:30 every night," or "I'm doing all the things and my body still feels stuck," this one's for you. Just a reminder, the content shared on PCOS Unfiltered is for informational and educational purposes only. The views and opinions expressed by the host and guests are not intended to serve as medical advice. Always consult with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet, exercise, or treatment plan. The information shared is based on personal experience and expert interviews and is not a substitute for professional medical guidance. As always, take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and use this episode as an invitation to get curious about what your body has been trying to tell you all along. And be sure to listen to the end for a special offer on something we have coming up in just a few days. All right, now let's jump into this episode on sleep. Hello, welcome. Welcome to Kate. Super excited for this topic because sleep. We
Wait.
all we all need to talk about sleep. It's I think it just becomes kind of a vicious cycle sometimes.
Mhm.
It affects so many other things, and that's kind of what we're gonna dive into. But if you want to just kind of start by introducing yourself and what you
Sure,
do and who you
sure.
are and how you got here.
Sure. So I am Kate. I am National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach, and I own KCL Wellness. And what do I do? I help women advance their health through lifestyle change. So part of that is, of course, sleep and helping them to truly create a nighttime ritual they adore and they refuse to go without. So, there are a lot of non-negotiables in life that we set for ourselves, but one of them is not centered around sleep. So I try truly to help people understand the importance of sleep and how it affects their entire health system. So from immunity to gut health to liver health to lung health, it's all connected. And if we don't focus on that as a priority, a top priority, then our health can be affected. So I incorporate all of that into my protocols for my women, and it really has proven to be a long-lasting benefit for them.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's kind of get started talking about this body clock,
Sure.
the Ferrari. I
Or
still like, I don't know why that's a mouthful for me.
yeah.
But yeah, what is it exactly?
Yeah. So the Horari body clock is a traditional Chinese medicine tool that maps out how each of the organs regenerate themselves at which hour. So, and there's the day clock too, which explains in the clock, it explains what your body is doing through every hour of the day. But if we're focused on sleeping, we focus on the time that our body starts to quiet down for sleep. So the Horari body clock maps all of that out for us, and it tells us what our organs are doing during that certain process. So if you are a believer of that and you follow that, you can really put your body into that rhythm and understand what it is that your body is doing during those hours so that you can best give her the optimal conditions to thrive during those times.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll just, for those watching on video, I just have a print off here and kind of get a general idea. But of course, you
Mhm.
can always, Google it as well, to also see it more, visually. But we're going to kind of break it down.
Sure.
So even starting, I mean, bedtime, typical bedtime for a lot of people,
Yeah,
I'd say by 10, hopefully. But I mean, even as early as like 9 p.m. ish, things
that's right.
start to happen, right? So can you kind of start there?
Yeah. So, at certain times of the evening, our body naturally starts to quiet down for bed. And for most of us, that period begins at 9 o'clock p.m., where we should start winding down. Because that's what our ancestors did. And believe it or not, our bodies respond very well when we mimic what it is that our ancestors did long, long ago. So in bed by, the time the sun went down was generally what they did. Now, in today's world, that's impossible for most of us. But at 9 o'clock, we really should start putting our phones away, um, getting into our nighttime routine, no more food. That's a big one for people. No more food, no screen time, but really allowing your body to start to understand, okay, it's bedtime. Because whatever you tell her, she's going to listen to. So if you tell her that 9 o'clock is the time to wind down, she's going to understand that and she's going to start to get into that mode. So 9 o'clock is the time when our triple burner starts to regenerate. So the triple burner is not necessarily tied to any organ the way the rest of the timing is on the clock, but it is tied to our metabolism and our endocrine system. So during this time, our body starts to regenerate our immune system and our digestive system, all of these together, even our hormonal system, like our thyroid, starts to regenerate during this time. So, if we're not in the mode of relaxation and getting ready to go to sleep between these hours, we miss that regeneration. It does not happen if we're not in a horizontal position by 10 o'clock. um, and just relaxing to allow our body to regenerate. So that's basically where it starts at 9 o'clock. And we really should be able to get ourselves into a position where we are ready to sleep by 10 o'clock. So that's in between the hours of 9 and 11, which is when the triple burner starts to get itself ready to regenerate. And if we're not, we miss that process. So when you think about it, our immune system, so many of us get sick, so many of us can't, we get a cold and it lasts forever. We're not allowing our body that time to regenerate between the hours of 9 and 11. So that's one of the reasons why coming up with a nighttime routine is so crucial for our health.
Yeah. I mean, you said so many good things there because I like throughout my program as well, I talk about how our ancestors ate, and
So
and stress, how stress ties into all of that, and how things are so accessible right now. And I think it's very similar, with the clock, like you mentioned. Um, as far as like times of the year, like because my thinking is okay, it's winter right now. So I know even for me, we tend to eat like, me and my husband tend to eat earlier this time of year because the sun goes down, I feel like
right.
earlier and you're, versus in the summer, at least, for us here in the States, obviously, but then in the summer, obviously the sun is going down later. So I always feel like I eat later,
Sure.
but how can that, yeah, like how can that affect with the sun going down earlier versus later and the times of year? How can it affect that, this window?
Absolutely, it definitely does. And we just have to be cognizant of it. Your body has that clock and it doesn't really shift much. So, and hopefully we're going to get into shift workers a little bit later and how that affects them. But you need to be cognizant of what it is that your body is asking you to do. And if it's later, that the sun goes down later in the summer, so we tend to be up more, we tend to eat later, we tend to maybe have more activity later in the night because it's summer. But that does affect how we sleep. So even in the summer, if you can get yourself to bed by 10:30, that is still ideal.
Okay. That's
Mhm.
good to know. Um, what was I gonna say? Gut health. That was the other thing. You brought up digestion. So yes, gut
Yeah.
health. Super important.
Mhm.
Obviously, as we're, as we know, as many people are learning. So yeah, how can this time also affect gut health even more?
Yeah. So the gut is connected to everything. And as a gut health coach myself, I am a firm believer in this. So our gut is where our immunity lives. Our gut builds our serotonin. It also builds melatonin. So when we don't sleep correctly, these things cannot generate for us. They do not generate. So, which is why if we go to bed late, so many times we wake up feeling tired or bloated or swollen in our joints and whatever else. But our digestion is directly affected by how we sleep because during the night, our gut lining repairs, our liver detoxifies itself and regenerates. Our gallbladder does the same. And then our lungs do the same thing. And our lungs are directly connected to our gut as well. And so many people don't realize that. But our gut speaks to our body in the same way our brain does. It has its own nervous system. It's called the enteric nervous system, and it has as many neurons, if not more, than our brain does. And it's all connected through the vagus nerve. So when we're not getting that sleep and our gut lining is not regenerating, our immune system is compromised. We're not building the serotonin that we need to, and the melatonin does not create in order for us to get that deep, good night's sleep that we need for our body to feel regenerated in the morning.
Yeah. What are some good like wind down practices
Mm.
around this time that you talk about with your clients?
Yes. So I have three staples that I absolutely love. The first one is lymphatic massage. I
Mm,
recommend everyone to do a lymphatic massage, and it can start right at the face and work your way through the body, or at the toes and work your way up. And it's a beautiful way to relax. Not only to relax, but then to move the lymph around in your system because our lymph system does not have a drainage point. So when we work that lymph, we work it out of the places where it pools, and we send it to the liver so the liver can detoxify it and get it out of our system where it does not belong. So that's the first thing that I love to recommend. The other thing is dry brushing. Dry brushing before a shower helps with lymph again. It helps to detoxify your skin. It's also a very nice, relaxing way to begin your evening. And then a warm shower or a warm bath after really helps to set the stage for a beautiful night's sleep. The third thing that I love for my clients is castor oil packs. I
mm,
highly, highly recommend this for everyone. I use castor oil on my face every night as a natural Botox. And then I put it on my thyroid because it helps to penetrate and helps to really get down into the cellular level and help things just stay healthy. But the best place I love to put it is on my abdomen, around my liver, on the kidney area, and cover it with a cloth because it can be messy because it's so thick and it does stain. But I love to leave that on overnight, sometimes with a heating pad, sometimes without. You don't need to. And it, again, it just helps to penetrate deep down into the cellular level and help our organs heal. And there's studies behind it that shows that this is proven to work. So those are the three things that I love to tell my clients to do in order to truly get a great night's sleep. Of course, there's other things like, sitting quietly with a candle,
mm.
reading a book, meditating, reading your affirmations, however you do your devotional cards. All of those things are a great way to get yourself ready for bed. One of the important things also to keep in mind is to not eat anything within 2 to 3 hours of bedtime because our body, if you do, our bodies need to digest that food. And if you eat close to bedtime, your body is digesting that while you're getting ready to sleep, and you are going to be disturbed. Your sleep is going to be disturbed if you eat too close to bedtime. So
Yeah.
those are the things that I really like to just mention to people and incorporate into a protocol to make sure you get a good night's sleep.
Yeah. Just curious, how do you put the castor oil on your face? Like, do you just leave it on there
I do.
and then
So
so you just have to bedding wise and all that stuff have to
I try to sleep on my back,
okay.
holding my hair back. And then when I put it on, I do massage it in. It is a little goopy, but I
Yeah.
massage it in and I just leave it. And then by the morning, it's absorbed and I just have a little bit left and I just pat it in. Um,
Mm.
but I notice a difference in my skin tone and that my skin is nice and hydrated in the morning.
Yeah.
So I make all of my own skincare products as well, so my own oils. And as a base, I do use the castor oil. So I'm using it night and day, and it really is it's a great tool to have in your toolbox.
Yeah. That's awesome. Love that. Lots of good stuff there. I know one thing, so especially this 9 to 11 p.m. So there's some temperature regulation, happening within the body. I know
Okay.
like for us, we have the thermostat automatically set to start going down. So can you kind of maybe talk about how that might be playing a role in preparation for sleep as well?
Yeah. So, our body normally during those times when we get tired, I don't know if anybody might recognize it, but when you get tired, you get chilly, right? You tend to put on
Mhm.
a blanket and get cozy. This is your body letting you know that it's time to sleep.
Yeah.
And when your temperature goes down, it's that nesting period. It's that feeling of, okay, I need to take care of my body at this point. Exactly like you said, when we regulate the temperatures in our homes, in order to feel comfortable, this is what your body is doing internally as well. And, off topic just slightly, our bodies are amazing vessels. So without any help from us or thought from us whatsoever, it's doing this thing all on its
Yeah.
own, homeostasis, right? That's what it's called, in order to keep us as healthy as possible. And your body wants to be well. And it's
Yeah.
up to you to provide her with the optimal conditions to thrive. And this is part of it. So she's telling you what she wants. You need to listen, and the temperature is definitely part of that. And that goes along too with our fertility, how when we're tracking how to get pregnant, our base levels, our basal temperature and stuff like that. It all goes hand in hand. So, like I said, she's talking to you. And it's up to us to listen to her and really understand what it is that she needs. And the temperature is
Yeah.
part of that.
Can't stress that piece enough about listening because, I didn't listen for the longest time.
None of us did.
But yeah.
None of us did. I
But
mean,
I
think
can
about
actually
it.
talk about all that stuff now and help people,
Yeah, I
based on what
love
I learned.
that.
So yeah.
I do. I love it. I love like I said, my main goal is to advance women's health through lifestyle change. But the only way that that happens if you're intentional to what your behaviors are, to learn the signals of your body, because she's talking to you and we don't know her language because
Mhm.
we haven't listened.
Yeah.
But unlike learning a new language, it's easier to learn an actual language when you're younger, but learning the language of your body, there's never a bad time to do that. And you can always learn. You just need to learn to listen and to understand what it is that she's telling you. Because once you have that, nobody can take that away from you, right? It's not a resolution. It's not something that you're depending on a practitioner to give you, like a medication, a shot, something, in your face. None of
Mhm.
that. Once you know the language of your body and you understand, that's yours for life. And that's
Yeah.
huge when it comes to your health.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just touched on, basal body temperature too, which is not something I've talked a whole lot about, but like I use it just to track my cycles in
Yes,
general. It's yes, I think it became more popular for fertility,
that's right.
reasons. And so for anybody that's listening, whether you are trying to get pregnant or just, worried about regulating your cycle, I always encourage them to just start tracking that, a simple temperature check in the morning, or even now, like my Apple Watch does it all for me. And it like I stopped checking it in the morning because it's accurate. That's if you wear your Apple Watch at night. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's great for tracking all of that, and then kind of can give you some answers, can help you start listening to your
Yeah,
body because you might be saying, "Well, why am I experiencing this during certain times of the month?" Well, if you start, realizing, okay, my temperature's doing this, my
that's
body's
right.
not, that's correlating with this phase of my cycle, my body isn't getting optimal rest because of, you know, yeah, it can play a role in all of that.
Yeah, and if I may, since we're talking about fertility a bit here, your hormones during that 9 to 11 period, they regenerate too, especially for women. It matters because our estrogen, our progesterone, and our hormones are all influenced by our sleep.
Mhm.
And for those of us postmenopause, or those who have irregular cycles or are trying to get pregnant, this is so imperative because sleep is a huge component of
Mhm.
those hormone balance issues that is so much overlooked. So,
Mhm.
I had fertility issues when I was trying to get pregnant, and all of this comes into play when fertility issues are at the forefront for some people. And it
Mhm.
does get overlooked. You don't think of that, but or our hormones are synthesized through our gut, but only if our gut is regenerated during the night.
Yeah, makes sense.
Mhm.
So let's kind of move on to the next kind of window of time, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., where the gallbladder is, kind of kicking in.
Mhm.
Um, so can you explain kind of what's happening more during that time?
Yes. So the gallbladder is where our bile is produced, and the bile is essential because it's stored in the liver. So when we eat too close to bedtime or when we are eating processed foods during the day or whatever else, that's making our gallbladder work all the harder. And when it works all the harder, it will let you know. So if you're waking between the hours of 11 and 1, then you can guarantee that it is your gallbladder letting you know that, I don't like the way you treated me today. So now I'm going to wake you up. But it's all connected to how we are treating ourselves during the day, how we're setting up our nighttime rituals, and getting ourselves ready for this good sleep. So, of course, when we think about the gallbladder and the liver, we think about toxins and, whether that's too much alcohol or even, the stuff that we use on our skin. If we're using ingredients that are considered chemical disruptors, then, that definitely is a toxin and it does put a burden on our organs. So that's something that we have to think about. The other thing is that when we take vitamins, our soluble vitamins like our A's, D's, E's, K's, they are not going to absorb without adequate bile flow. So we can think that we're eating as healthy as we are, but if we don't have adequate bile flow, then we're not going to absorb those and we can end up deficient in that. So that's why it's really important. Our bile also has antimicrobial properties in it. And if we aren't careful, then it can affect the microbiome of our gut if we aren't treating or eating and treating our sleep with the respect that it so deserves.
Yeah. So you mentioned the vitamin deficiencies. What are some other symptoms that that could be showing up if your gallbladder is saying, "Hey, I need some love here."
Mhm.
Gallbladder and
Yeah.
liver, I should say.
So,
Yeah.
definitely digestion issues. So, if we aren't careful and get to bed during a certain time, the our digestion will definitely slow down. So, the bloating is
Mm.
a big one. Bowel movements are another big one. And I talk about those all the time with my clients. And at first, they're like, wait a minute, we really got to talk about this, but it's part of a healthy
It's
life, right?
yeah,
Part of a
yeah,
healthy gut. So it's all connected there. And if we're not if our gallbladder is not producing the bile the way that it should, then we are going to have certain issues. It's really interesting to me too that a lot of people have their gallbladder removed. When they have their gallbladder removed, their doctors don't necessarily tell them that they shouldn't be eating certain foods like fatty
mhm,
foods because that's where the fatty foods are broken down,
yeah,
right? Our gallbladder helps with that. So there really are so many different things for us to consider when we have an organ removed, whether it's our gallbladder, our thyroid. We really need to think about, okay, if I don't have that organ to process this kind of food, what should I be eating?
mhm,
And unfortunately, we don't necessarily get a lesson in that. So we have to learn by trial and correction.
yeah. I
Hmm.
mean, that's super important. So obviously, if somebody is staying up past 11 p.m., then they could be starting to experience some of these
Hmm.
things.
Hmm.
Yeah,
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 and the timing for these regeneration periods does not shift. There are certain ones that are much more stringent than others, but we this is why we have to be cognizant of our bedtime.
yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
So yeah, getting into the liver, you kind of mentioned a little bit, but definitely the 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. is when it sounds like kind of the deep detoxification process
All
really
right.
starts happening. So yeah, I'll just,
And
yeah,
this
tell us
is
what's going on.
the most common time for people to wake in the morning. When my clients are telling me, oh, I can't sleep, or I wake up, or we go through the whole process, and then I'm like, okay, well, what time do you wake up in the morning? I always wake up at 2:30. I don't
Yeah.
understand. Okay, well, ding, ding, ding. Here's the reason why. Our liver. Our liver is the most amazing organ. It detoxifies everything we do to ourselves. So again, if we're eating poorly, if we eat too close to bedtime, if we're drinking alcohol, if we aren't eating the right things for our body, so many of us are intolerant to foods that we don't even know about. So if we're eating those foods and we don't know it, and our liver is trying to detox the things that are making us not well, it's going to show up here. So it goes through its deep detoxification process while we sleep. And if it doesn't go through that process correctly, so many symptoms can occur at the time. So we just need to truly be cognizant of what we put in our bodies, how close to bedtime we put it in our bodies. Inflammation too. Inflammation is a huge thing for people these days. And if we're not detoxifying properly, then our hormones don't metabolize correctly. We do not get a fresh blood flow every day because this is what the liver does for us. And it really can turn our liver sluggish. A lot of people have a sluggish liver, and not necessarily because, they're drinking alcohol all the time. That's a misconception where, yes, alcohol definitely does affect your liver, but that's not the only thing. So if we're not careful and we don't eat the foods and do the daily activity that is going to support our liver detoxification, we can get a sluggish liver. When we have a sluggish liver and our bile flow is not working properly, this is where high cholesterol happens. So people think that high cholesterol comes from certain foods, which if you're eating a fatty diet, it's going to affect your bile flow. It's going to affect your liver detox. And then you're going to end up with high cholesterol. But it also happens when you have a sluggish liver. So when the food enters your liver to go through the phase one, phase two detox periods, um, if it is a sluggish liver, it's not processing those foods properly. When it doesn't process the foods properly, if it's still working on, the alcohol that you drank last night and now you eat other food, it's still processing this alcohol. So it half processes the food that you ate, but then it spits it back out into the bloodstream. When that goes back out, and I'm simplifying this process, so please, for anybody that's listening,
Yeah.
it's just an overview. When it spits that food back out into the bloodstream, that's where high cholesterol happens because it's half digested or half processed food that goes back into the bloodstream that your immune system is looking at like, wait a minute, what is this here now? It's not supposed to be here. So there's a whole process to it, but that's why it's so important. So it's important to make sure that we eat the foods that are going to allow our liver to clean itself better. So cruciferous vegetables, beets are a great thing, lemon water, apple cider vinegar, all of those things together are truly going to help regenerate your liver and help get that sluggishness out of it and help the bile to flow better too, because the bile can also become sludgy if we're not careful. So you see how it's all connected,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So yeah, so all of those things. The other thing that I love to tell my clients is that our organs hold on to emotions. So if you're waking up between the hours of 1 and 3 and you know that you're a great eater, you don't do any of the things that we said not to do before bed and everything, but you're still waking during those hours, you need to ask yourself, what's going on with my emotions? Am I angry? Am I holding on to something? Am I frustrated with something? Because those emotions store themselves in the tissue of your liver. So, to truly, again, understand and listen to your body is a great way for you to get a great night's sleep.
Yeah. I love that. The piece, like you said, about the emotions, because
Yes,
I mean, I've talked about it with other guests on the show, but there's definitely a piece that I feel like plays a role in PCOS, can play a role in several other, things when we're not releasing those emotions and not processing those emotions. I think that's
that's
super
right.
important to bring up. Yeah.
That's right. And who
Yeah.
would think that? Who would think, if you're just a person going about your life, doing whatever the right way, and who would
Mhm.
think for a minute, oh, I'm waking up between the hours of 1 and 3 because I am holding on to this anger.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
wouldn't,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
knowledge is power.
Yeah. The other thing too, I mean, I do believe there's a rise just I don't know if I really looked at the numbers, but in non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Of course, tied to
There
insulin
is.
resistance, I feel like too, so that's again where this time can be so super important to help you
And
heal.
that is 100% true. And that can be related to cortisol, right? Our cortisol levels. And
Hmm.
our cortisol levels are we're stressed all the time and we're constantly in fight or flight. And when we're in fight or flight constantly, our bodies do not have the time to regenerate back into
Yeah.
that parasympathetic nervous system.
Yeah.
And it's just a constant cycle of being on all the
Mhm.
time. When
Yeah.
when we are stressed and we're in the constantly in that fight or flight mode, our body doesn't know the difference between whether we are running from a bear or
Hmm.
if we're just upset because we had an argument with our spouse, let's say. Your body is going to react that same way. And our stress is subjective, right? It's what I get stressed about, maybe you wouldn't get stressed about. So
Yeah.
our body doesn't know that. So it's going to react the same way, which of course, stress is a whole other pillar of health that, you could take a whole
Oh yeah.
hour or more to discuss.
More.
But it's all it goes hand in hand. It all just goes hand in hand. And again, understanding what it is that your body is going through is key.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
I can't thank Kate enough for this conversation. I love how she explained the Harari body clock in a way that feels both empowering and practical. Not like another thing to obsess over, but a way to listen to what your body might be asking for. If you're listening and you're thinking, okay, this explains a lot, here are a few simple takeaways to start with. Try a 9 p.m. wind down window, dim lights, reduce screens, stop eating, and help your nervous system shift. Keep your sleep environment cool and dark to support deeper rest. If you wake up at the same time every night, get curious. What time is it? And what might your body be processing then? And most importantly, treat sleep like a non-negotiable foundation, not a reward you earn after you get everything else done. If you want to connect with Kate, you can find her at KCL Wellness. She's on Facebook and Instagram, and you can also visit kclwellness.com. I'll link everything in the show notes so it's easy for you. And as always, if this episode helped you, would you take 10 seconds to share it with a friend or leave a quick review? It generally helps more women find the show, especially women with PCOS who are tired of feeling dismissed and are ready to heal from the inside out. Lastly, how are your resolutions going? If you're tired of setting New Year's resolutions that don't last, if you've ever felt like you are the problem because motivation fades or life gets in the way, no matter what time of year it is, the Anti-Resolution Revolution event is for you. From January 26th through the 31st, you'll receive free daily recordings from each of our amazing speakers delivered straight to your inbox, so you can watch on your own schedule. And the goal isn't to give you another plan to follow. It's to help you finally understand why resolutions fail every year in a fun, gamified way and what actually needs to change for sustainable progress to happen. You can register for free. I'll have everything waiting for you in the show notes. All right, I'm sending you so much love, and I'll see you in the next episode of PCOS Unfiltered. Nourish, Heal, Thrive.